Hey guys, I'm Joe from American Trucks, and today I am showing off the Barricade Extreme HD Grille Guard in black, fitting all 07 to 13 Silverado 1500s. Now this grille guard is awesome for the Silverado owner that's looking to add some full width protection to the front of their truck with some awesome aggressive styling for a very affordable price. Now this is some serious full width protection. This is going to offer you a lot more coverage than some of the sleeker options out there like push bars or bull bars. Now this thing is pretty heavy duty. It's manufactured out of a hot rolled carbon steel plating and tube featuring a 1.5 millimeter wall thickness and also a 48 millimeter cross tube diameter. It is then finished in a satin black, which as you can see looks great with the black accents on our 09 Silverado and is sure to stand up to any abuse thrown at you on the road or on the trails. And the wire mesh right up front is perfect to protect your front grille from, let's say, a stray branch getting to your radiator or maybe even the occasional rock chip. This thing is a deal compared to some other full width options out there. Now install for this isn't going to be too bad either, as we're going to be reusing the factory tow hook mounts. If your truck is equipped with tow hooks, we'll be replacing the tow hooks in exchange for this. Now if your truck does not have tow hooks on it from the factory, you will have to do some cutting. It's going to drag out the install a little bit more. However, after that, it's a straight bolt-on. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Should take you around an hour or two with basic hand tools. And with that, let me show you how to get this on your truck. For this install, you will need a 3/8 drive impact, ratchet, 18 millimeter wrench, 3/8 drive U-joint, 15 millimeter socket, 18 millimeter socket, 13 millimeter socket, 10 millimeter socket, a pair of needle nose pliers, trim panel removal tool, and included in the kit is the Allen wrench. So for our first step of the install, we are going to get our lower mounting brackets in place. In order to do that, you need the lower mounting bracket itself, this frame support bracket, and a couple of the larger 12 by 40 millimeter bolts, nuts, and washers included in the kit. All right, so fortunately, our bumper already has holes for tow hooks cut, and we don't have any tow hooks in place. So that's just about as easy as it's gonna get. The first step is we're gonna take our mounting plate here, and I'm just gonna put that in position along the frame and not bolt it down at this point. And then the next step is I'm just gonna run one of the larger 12 millimeter by 40 millimeter bolts and a flat washer through this hole, so we can get our support bracket on there. And with that roughly in place, I'm just gonna put a washer around that and a lock washer and one of the 12 millimeter nuts, all included in the kit. Now, as with all of these grille guard or brush guard installs, you really want as much adjustment room as possible. So we're just gonna hand tighten these for now. That gives us a lot of room to align our brush guard when we go to hang it up in just a minute here. Next, we're gonna do the same thing for the bolt holes inside the frame rail that go into our mounting bracket. And we're just going to secure that bolt with a washer, a lock washer, and a nut. And now we're just going to do the same thing and feed through this front bolt. And lastly, we're just going to throw another bolt through this lower one here as well. Next, we're gonna move on to the driver's side frame rail. Now, as you can see, we only used one bolt here. That's because there's only one bolt hole on this side of the frame rail. Now, for this passenger frame rail, there's 2 holes on the outside and 1 hole on the inside. The driver frame rail is not mirrored like you'd expect it to be. So it's basically gonna be this moved over.
Now that's just the way Chevy designs their trucks, and we're just gonna put bolt holes wherever we can. So again, firstly, we're gonna put our mounting bracket just in the tow hook hole here and fit it for now. And then we can get our support bracket in place, like so. And next, we just put our frame support bracket in place, put a bolt through it, and then a washer, lock washer, and finally a 12mm nut.
So with our bottom brackets loosely in place, we can start moving on to the upper mounting brackets. Now those are going to sit roughly around there, but in order to allow us access to those bolts, we're gonna pop our hood, remove our radiator shroud, and take the grill off so we can attach this bracket. Now our radiator shroud is this big plastic piece right here. In order to remove that, there's 8 plastic push pin clips that I'm going to use a trim panel removal tool to remove. Now put those aside, don't do anything with them because we will be reinstalling them later. And with the clips out, the shroud should pop right off, and then we can move on to removing our grill. So with our radiator shroud off, that reveals these 4 10mm bolts right here. We're gonna remove those to allow us to pull our grill off. And again, put those aside because you will be reusing them later. Now, all that's holding on our grill is some metal clips. You should be able to give it a good pull and it should pop right off. So with our grill off, you could better see where our upper brackets are going to mount. We're gonna undo these 2 15mm bolts here and sandwich our bracket in between this and our bumper. Now with those bolts out of the way, we're good to mount our bracket in between here. Now before we do, Barricade includes a nice piece of foam in the kit just to prevent it from impacting your bumper right here. And with that applied, we can attach them in place. And now we can snug down these 15mm bolts. And we're just gonna do the same thing for the other side. And with the upper mounting brackets in place, we can reinstall our front grille and our radiator shroud. So with all of our brackets in place loosely, we can grab our grille guard and get it started on the truck. Now this thing is heavy. I recommend you grab a friend for this step, and we're gonna get them started using the 8mm button head bolts in our top bracket. And next, we're just gonna put the rest of the hardware in place hand tight. And for these bottom three, we're gonna use the slightly larger 12 by 35mm bolts, washers, and lock washers supplied in the kit. And we're gonna repeat the same steps for the other side. Now with all the hardware in place, this grille guard is really starting to shape up. The last step is to just run through and tighten down all the loose hardware. To tighten the uppers, you're going to use this Allen key included in the kit and a 13mm socket. And for the bottom bolts, we're going to use an 18mm socket and an 18mm wrench. And for the bottom mounting brackets, I'm using an 18mm wrench and an 18mm socket. All right guys, and that is going to do it for my review and install of the Barricade Extreme HD grille guard in black, fitting all 07 and 13 Silverado 1500s. Thank you for watching. I'm Joe, and for all things Silverado and Sierra, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.